This is Inside the Commission, a Gambling Commission podcast. This is Inside the Commission, a Gambling Commission podcast. Welcome to Inside the Commission, a podcast all about gambling in Great Britain. Here we'll cover all the latest topics and trends from across the gambling sector and discuss the big issues that matter to you, from consumer queries to industry insights. We'll bring you the facts from the front line of regulation and share the stats and stories from those in the know. For all the latest discussions and updates, you can subscribe to our Gambling Commission YouTube channel, or you can find us on your preferred platform, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
I suppose this is a sort of two-part sort of question. You've obviously got an industry forum made up of people from the industry, and I'm pretty sure they're not shy in coming forward and speaking their minds. So, you know, that question in terms of how you make sure everyone's voice gets heard is important. But also then when you go on to topics that are controversial or a little bit sort of more challenging, how do you manage that? So making sure everyone's voices are heard, but you're also talking about the stuff that matters and can be a bit sensitive, because obviously you do have a role outside the forum as well, so you've always got that kind of in the back of your mind. How do you manage that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think, certainly no one is afraid to say what they think, which is great, and it's why those people were appointed in those roles. I do think that everybody appreciates the work that the Commission do and understands that, it's not necessarily easy for someone to come in and kind of present to 9-10 people that they've never met before, who they don't work with. And so, I think everybody's quite good at managing that generally. As you say, some discussions can get quite heated, like everyone's really passionate about what they do. And I think that it's the job of the chair, basically, to kind of manage that and, make sure everybody's getting their say, but also make sure that any feedback that we're giving is really constructive and positive and doesn't make anybody feel uncomfortable or demoralised. To be honest, I've not really... Since I've been the interim chair, I've not really had to navigate that yet. But I'm sure I will figure it out when I have to.
So for us, it starts well before the meeting to prepare for this, because we know that the Commission and operators and industry aren't going to agree on everything all the time. So we know that. And it's our job to put the work plan in place and then set up a series of calls to prepare for the agenda items. So that first of all, that will be between me and Tess and the workstream leads to talk about what they're bringing, why they're bringing it to the forum, what exactly do they want to get out of it, and what are they worried about. And then we set up a call with the chair. So previously it was Nick Russ, now of course it's Kirsty. And we talk about that, about how we want something to land, where we think there might be some points of challenge. It gives the chair an opportunity to have sight of it first and think about how they want to lead that. We don't want to go in sort of saying, right, no one can disagree on anything, because they can, but we need to make sure that things are kept on track, and that ultimately the goal is to bring the work along and get to the right outcome. Which everyone wants to do on both sides, but we put that in those steps in place first before we even get into the meeting.
And you've had some successes, haven't you, with the AML stuff and bits and pieces like that? Are there other bits that stand out to you in terms of the last couple of years?
The first thing with AML and just getting ops in there, I think was a success for us, because when I took this role, I was told that you won't get ops in front of advisory groups. It's really, really difficult. And yet John Pearce has been to Industry Forum 3 times, I think now. We've had other colleagues from his team come along, and the work's developing really, really well. I think there's just been a series of examples where we've had that richness of perspective to alter our work and to take that into consideration with our work that we wouldn't have otherwise have had we not have had Industry Forum. And if you take illegal gambling, we've touched on it, but that's huge, and it's come along very, very quickly. And I can't imagine how we would begin to tackle that work without working with industry. And I think the forum are the best place to help us with that.
We've done a lot with on the black market stuff, haven't we? And obviously we've got this new project coming up. But I mean, prior to that, as you said, we've had John Pearson more than once, and we've talked to him about the things that we're seeing, things like increased use of black market sites on customers' bank statements, for example. The use of influencers and streamers causing kind of heightened prevalence of the black market, and I think those conversations have been really useful. I think another key area that we've done quite a bit of work on with different colleagues actually has been around the increased focus on the fair and open objective. So I mean, we actually talked directly to Andrew Rhodes, didn't we, about this initially, in fact a couple of times, around like blocked withdrawals and account restrictions, and kind of trying to give some colour and context about a whole host of different reasons that an operator might restrict an account or might need to hold up a withdrawal. And I think, that there's been a bit of a change from the Commission on that front, or a bit more focus. And I think it was really important to kind of make sure that the context of all of the different reasons that activity could be happening were understood.
Okay, that's really helpful. I suppose I want to sort of turn towards looking a little bit forward now, and Kirsty, in your interim role, you've come across a piece of work that you're going to be looking at over the next 12 months. Tim Miller mentioned it at the BGC conference not too long ago. Do you want to touch on sort of what your forward look is and what the plans are and what you sort of got in your back pocket, basically?
Yeah, definitely. So this is around the use of cryptocurrency and the hopes to kind of bring the ability for a regulated sector to start using cryptocurrency with an aim to kind of tackle some of the area of demand in terms of people using black market operators. So yeah, it's a super exciting project for the whole industry, but for Industry Forum, it's certainly our biggest opportunity that we've had up to this point. Tim spoke to me about it a couple of weeks ago. I couldn't believe it, really. I thought it was just a kind of meet and greet call, and then he told me that was the plan and asked if I thought we'd be interested, and I said, yeah, absolutely. So we've had a kick-off call with the rest of the group just last week, where Tim kind of gave a much more detailed overview than I'd given them previously about what he expected from us. And now the next steps will be for us to kind of meet together as a group, which we're hoping to do in April. I think Ash from Flutter has offered to host one of their a meeting for us, so that we don't have to put any extra pressure on Andrew and his team. And then, yeah, hopefully we will need to be bringing in expertise from outside of the Industry Forum, because no one is an expert in cryptocurrency. So, there was discussion around us working potentially with the FCA, which, would be really useful, but also people within the industry who have this skill set and experience. And then the tentative plan is that we will present our first thoughts to Tim in our formal forum meeting, which I think is mid-May.
So it's an exciting piece of progress, isn't it, from the Industry Forum perspective, in terms of the trust and the value that we should get back?
Yeah, trust is important, but it's a sign that 2 years into the life of the forum, I think Nick Russ used to term it as the forum are on the inside now, on the inside of the Commission.
You're literally inside the Commission on this podcast.
But the trust goes both ways, because we've asked people from the forum for some of their data, to share some of their data with us, which they're doing with some of our colleagues. So there's a good relationship there, and I think it's the fact that it's embedded now. was really good timing for this work to be given to them. And it couldn't have been any earlier. It's a blank piece of paper. How do we look at this? And the point of having our groups is we also look at their network beyond the people that are on the panel, and I think that's really something we're going to have to use here. There's nothing. It's not a secret squirrel operation. We've said if you know people that can help us with this, then now's the time to get in touch. Yeah.
I suppose it would be a good opportunity for you guys to come back in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, and see where we've got to with something like that, because I know it will be of massive interest to a lot of people. I suppose we're coming towards the back end of our chat. I just wanted to sort of think about, as the forum grows and continues, and the next steps that you take, what else do you need to start thinking about in terms of how the forum operates, or are there areas that need to be looked at differently in the future, and sort of what the next steps might be as you sort of continue the development, I suppose?
So nothing's ever perfect, and we have learnt along the way that we work really hard with colleagues to pitch each agenda item and each piece of work at the right level in the right way. And sometimes we've done a really good job of that, and then other times afterwards we reflected and thought we probably didn't get that quite right. So that's something that we're always going to work on. The Commission's current corporate strategy will finish next year, and we'll have a new one for the next 3-year period. So the work on that will begin, and I will be looking at what is potentially going to be in that work, and where Industry Forum, Digital Advisory Panel and Lived Experience Advisory Panel can help develop that work.
Yeah, I think for me, I think we need to be more open about the work that we're doing, which is why this is great, because obviously we had an opportunity to really talk about a lot of the detail. I think, over the last 2 years we've done a lot of good work, and we haven't necessarily shouted about that. And sometimes when you're at conferences, you get people asking you, what do you do at Industry Forum? Yeah, and I'm like, how do you not know? But then I suppose people wouldn't. So yeah, I think for me, in my role as interim chair, that's one of the things that I want to really focus on. And yeah.
I think it was interesting. I did a review in January, I think, of what had been worked on the previous year, and when I read it all out and listed it, you kind of forget how many different things the forum had worked on.
Even we do.
Yeah, and that's the cyclical nature of the work we do, isn't it? You move on to the next thing, and you crack on. Yeah, the next thing is always around the corner. Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah.
This is Inside the Commission, a Gambling Commission podcast. To stay up to date with the latest content, you can subscribe to our Gambling Commission YouTube channel, or you can find us on your preferred platform, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks for listening.